This is Tiffanie Travels, where we help women and families build wealth, travel, and live richer. So today we have a special guest who lives in Ethiopia, and she's going to tell us about her life. We have Princess Living Free.
Hi.
Hi. How
Thank
are
you so much. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Yes, thank you for being on the channel. And why don't we start with you introducing yourself, telling us about your YouTube channel and what you do there, what kind of content people can find there. We can start there.
Okay. Thank you again, Tiffanie Travels, for having me on your channel. It is a pleasure to be here. So, yes, my name is Princess. It's in the title of my channel, Princess Living Free. And my channel is basically just kind of documenting our relocation, our move from the United States of America back to the motherland. We are here in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa to be specific. And, I just kind of document my daily life. Every now and again, I will show city views, things like that, tours around the city. I will do interviews on the channel. And it's kind of just a mix of things, sometimes, I encourage people. That's mainly what I'm doing, encouraging people to consider leaving the West, I believe that it's on a downward trend, to put it nicely. And, there's other opportunities out there in the world, and many of them exist here in Africa. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Oh, and recently I became an ambassador with the African Union and Jet Age Nation Builders organization. So promoting Africa, Africa is the future, all things Africa, basically.
Awesome. So why did you choose Ethiopia?
Great question. So it's more like Ethiopia chose me.
Uh-huh.
I was a United States Peace Corps volunteer back in 2011 to 2013. I served in the western part of Ethiopia and then met my husband there. And so fast forward now, we're married, 3 kids, whatever. And so with his lineage and heritage being from Ethiopia, it was kind of just a natural path to return here. And he's always wanted to own land or a house or something in his home country. So, when we both kind of started feeling this urge to leave the US, it was kind of the natural path to go to Ethiopia.
Did you guys think of anywhere else, or was like Ethiopia what you were just focused on?
Yeah, so honestly, Ethiopia was pretty much what we were focused on. But at the time, when we really started getting serious about moving, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos, and there are a couple channels with families that have been in Ghana and Tanzania and where's other people? Kenya or somewhere like that. So I halfway, very slightly considered those places. But it was just like, it just made sense for us to go to Ethiopia. And I would still love to visit more African countries and, see what's going on in that part.
Okay, I'm gonna put your channel here in the chat and on the screen. So
Okay.
it's Princess Living Free, but if you're in the chat, you can just click on the direct link there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so what was the visa process like as you were moving to Ethiopia?
So I think what will probably be most helpful for people is telling them about the visitor visa
Okay.
or tourist visa as it's called. So basically, Ethiopia offers a 30-day and 90-day visa, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to misquote the price, but so I think it's somewhere around $72 for the 30-day. It used to be. It might have gone up since then. But yeah, it's really not that difficult to get a visitor's visa coming from the US. I mean, probably from anywhere. It's not difficult. You can, I do believe they still have these visitors visa on arrival for US citizens. So you can get that. And you can also apply ahead of time online.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of the path that we went. And me being married to an Ethiopian, we moved on from that to the permanent residency ID, which is also known as the Ethiopian Origin ID or yellow card, which permits us to live here on a long-term basis.
Nice. And then, so Addis Ababa, was that because your husband had family there, or why that city?
So Addis is the capital of Ethiopia.
Mhm.
So I would say probably, especially now, it's the most developed part of the country. Even though I personally prefer the rural areas, I love the peace, the calm, the quiet, the greenery in some parts of the country. But you know, having 3 children and wanting to put them into international schools and you know all that kind of stuff, the city life kind of fits where we are at this stage in our life. Um, and so, you know, I think as the city is developing and growing and changing, it's becoming enjoyable, I would say. Personally, like I said, I preferred the rural areas because Addis Ababa used to be very crowded, a lot of smog, other
Oh,
types of like pollution, things like that. And so it just wasn't enjoyable. Like you could come if you needed access to things, if you needed to buy certain products that are hard to find, like you could find them here. But I personally always felt like, okay, it's time to go back to the rural area because I was in Peace Corps at the time. So I was like, I've had enough. But now with the changes and the cleanliness of the city, the development that's happening, it is much more enjoyable to be here. So I think, you know, that's another reason why we chose it. I think that, like I said, for the kids, there's parks, there are museums, hiking, and a water park not too far away from here. So there's a lot of activities to do in Addis Ababa. So that's the main reason that we chose it at this time.
okay. So you did Peace Corps in Ethiopia.
Mhm.
Is that where you met your husband, or was it back in the States?
Yeah, I met him here. So,
Oh,
um, funny story. I don't know if you want me to go into like how we met
yeah,
or
you
like
could.
that. So, yeah. So, I was a Peace Corps volunteer in 2011 to 13. I was in my early 20s, and you know, just fresh out of college. Like, graduation was probably like a week before. You know, like fresh out of college, and just wasn't ready to go into the corporate world in the US and, you know, be a worker bee. So I joined Peace Corps. And when I got to my rural site, my site placement, where I would be living for 2 years, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anyone. I barely knew any language. And when I walked into, it's called compounds here. When I walked into the compound where I would be living and other people were living, I saw my husband. Actually, he was the first person I saw, and wasn't my husband at that time, obviously. And so I came in. I had like my bags and stuff, and like nobody else was there to help me get settled in. Like it was just like Peace Corps kind of dropped me off and drove away. I don't know if they still do it like that, but it was definitely jarring. Like, okay, I guess I'm here now. And so this man approached me and he was like, hi. And he was speaking in English. And I'm like, oh, wow, he can speak English. And he was like, do you have any food or anything like to eat for dinner? Because it was like evening time also,
Yeah.
which also kind of sketchy. But so I was like, no, I just have some snacks that I brought like on the road and stuff like that. And he was like, oh, okay, I can make food for you. Do you like, you know, pasta or Ethiopian food? Those were the options that he knew how to make. And I was like, well, I'm in Ethiopia, so let's do Ethiopian. So he cooked me dinner and we ate together. And then the other people who lived in the compound came back home because it was a Sunday and people were out kind of relaxing, I guess. So they came back home and we were all just kind of sitting outside. We had a little fire going, roasted corn. It was like, that was the probably the perfect first day that I could have asked for. So yeah, long story short, we just kind of grew in our friendship and our relationship. And here we are now. It's 2025 now, gosh. So 14 years later.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that is a cool story. And so you guys moved to the US and then moved back, or did you never? So 2 years passed, you end the Peace Corps, and then you move back home.
Yes. So Peace Corps is, yeah, a 2 year commitment, a little bit over 2 years. So halfway through, was it halfway through? Kind of pretty much like early on, you know, we knew that, okay, we see a future together, and we plan to be married. So we actually started the fiance visa process after the first year of my service. So it takes about a year to go through that process. It's very long, very cumbersome, a lot of paperwork. If people are interested, I can share about that too. But we finished it, and ended up leaving together after I finished my service. Back
Okay.
to you.
Okay, nice. So tell us a little bit about the cost of living in Addis Ababa for like rent and utilities, and just how much does that cost per month?
So on average, I would say, let me just preface this by saying, I think Addis Ababa is one of the more expensive cities on the continent of Africa. I think it has either the highest or second highest per capita cost of living.
Oh,
Yeah. So, but you have to kind of put it in perspective because relatively it's cheap compared to life in the U.S.
mhm.
Much cheaper, actually. But if you're looking for, you know, a super cheap place, this probably isn't it. I've heard good things about Tanzania. But anyways, so the rent on average, I would say, is about, um, depending on the kind of place you need, uh, $300 to $500 a month. Um,
For like a
Ours is
two
more than that.
bedroom?
For what? A two
What
bedroom?
size is that? Like, what size would that be? A two bedroom?
Well, no. That I'm actually talking about like even a small house. You could probably get a small house. It will be older for $300 a month, or a newer, nicer house, which is like one level, maybe has 3 to 4 bedrooms for I'll say $500 to $600 a month. And it goes up from there if you want a bigger house or more bedrooms or something like that. On the lower end, an apartments on average are running, yeah, $300 to $400 a month. So you might as well get a house if you can find it. And did you ask me about the just general cost of living or only like rent?
Well, yeah, you could talk about the food as well, the utilities, like internet. Is that like another $100 for all your utilities?
$100 is about 10,000. Oh yeah, way less.
Less than 100?
Yeah, for our like the light, if I put about, let's say, $2, is it $2? No, $20 on the light. That will last me like 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and water, they come around. I think they come quarterly, and that is about when they come $40 quarterly. So that's not even a month. I guess monthly would then be, uh, I don't know,
Yeah.
$10, $12 a month, something like that. Um, what else? I don't think we pay for any other utilities. There's no gas bill. There's no trash bill. There are people who come and collect trash, but we don't pay for that. Um,
What
Yeah,
about
so yeah, like I said, it's I think under $50 for utilities. Oh, Wi-Fi. Okay, so maybe $50 to $60 including Wi-Fi. Around $50, let's say.
okay. So your housing expenses are 550 a month.
Not mine, on average,
On
yes. Some
yeah, average, yeah.
uh-huh. Yeah,
That is really low. Yeah,
right?
compared to the US.
Tempting. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like it compared to the US, when you put it in that perspective, it's very affordable if you have income in dollars, right? But if you're trying to get income in Ethiopian birr, which is the local currency, through a local job or something like that, that is an expensive budget. It can be for a lot of people because the salaries here are not high. And then also, like I said, compared to other African countries, a lot of people don't know this, but Ethiopia is actually, I just looked this up, the fifth largest economy in Africa, I believe, either the fourth or fifth.
Okay.
Um, So it has a pretty good economy. I mean, people are still struggling. I really don't want to try to like, sugarcoat things and make it like, oh yeah, everybody's living well. But there is a growing middle class here. You are seeing more people with cars, more people who are able to afford different things that were once luxuries, like going to the movies or eating out, that kind of stuff. And so when you look at the strength of the Ethiopian birr compared to the US dollar, it actually fares better than a lot of other African currencies.
So what about groceries and
Mhm.
eating
Yeah. So I would say for groceries and eating out. Now, it's obviously going to vary. We have a family of 5.
out?
And so for us, like groceries, eating out per month, let's say $500 to $600 should be enough, depending on how often you're eating out. We mostly eat at home and go out just occasionally, as a treat. So yeah, so that's what I would say for a family of 5, which to me that is still affordable, because when we were in the US, my grocery bill, like not eating out, just groceries, was like $250 a week. you know, so just over $1,000 for the month, whereas here it's like cut in half. And it does include entertainment. While it's in the US, that $1,000 grocery bill does not include eating out on the weekends, like every weekend, and going out. You see? So yeah, that's what I would say about that. For a single person, I mean, you can live very, very affordably, like cheap. A single person or a couple, even a family of 3, like you're gonna be way below that 500 to 600 for groceries and eating out and stuff like that. Because especially, okay, I know I'm talking a lot, but this is important. The bulk of that, aside from like eating out and going to the movies and stuff, is from going to supermarkets where there's a lot of imported goods. So we are, a diaspora family, a family that came from outside and relocated back to Ethiopia. So, our children who were born in the US and spent several years there, they're still young, but, they're familiar with certain types of food,
Okay.
if they want to eat cereal, or if they want like chips, like junk food, American diet, or like just different kind of things from the supermarket that we buy. I buy almond milk. What else? Just specialty items, I guess we can call it. So those are expensive. But if you're going to be eating a local diet, fruits and vegetables, maybe some meat here and there, it's not expensive at all.
Okay, so it sounds like somebody could go, even with a family, and have all their expenses, everything, for under $1,200 US.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You're as a family of 5, yes, they could. And they could go lower than that, like I said.
that is amazing and definitely something to think about. I mean, even if you just save up and move, you can move for like a year.
Right. You absolutely could. And so one, I guess, positive and negative about what you just said is, if you save up enough, you can pay your rent for the year, right? And not have to even think about that. You don't have to worry about that, right? So if you are coming to hustle, right, you've got a little bit of a savings and you're coming to start a business or maybe find a job. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could do that. Then you could like have your rent paid, you got your little bit of savings, and start your hustle. You can start your
Yeah,
business, not like, oh, how am I going to pay rent next month?
right.
And actually in Ethiopia, you have to pay at least 2 months at a time rent. hmm
Okay. How does the healthcare work there? Do you pay whenever you go, or do you have like a plan? How does it work?
So healthcare here is accessible and affordable. You just pay when you show up. So if you're going to a nice clinic, right? It's kind of like a urgent care, quick care kind of thing. Unless you're like really sick, then you need to go to the hospital. But if you're going, for example, like if your child is not feeling well, you're not feeling well, and you just want to get them checked out at a nice place, it costs $6, right? And then they will see them, do the whole workup, everything like that. You may have to pay an extra $2 or $3 for if they need a stool sample or a blood sample, something like that. And then you can go and get your medicine, and that's usually inexpensive as well. You just walk over to the pharmacy with your little prescription, and you're good to go. So very accessible, very easy. They don't ask for insurance. I don't think most people here even have insurance, health insurance.
Okay.
Now for major things at the hospital, that is, I think, where insurance will or would come in handy. For example, giving birth. If you are, I know this because I didn't give birth. My sister-in-law did about a year ago, and C-sections are expensive, just like they are in the U.S. Now, when I say expensive, how much did she pay? It's not $10,000.
I'm sorry. I was just saying hi.
Hello, hey. It's not like what it is in the U.S. How much? Like 30,000? I don't even know. I have no
It's
idea.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like that here. So it is still affordable. My niece had her tonsils removed. Was it her? I think it was her tonsils, something. And that cost, it was a surgery. So I think that was about $400 or $500, something like that. So that was kind of pricey. But it was at a top hospital. Government hospitals are free. The healthcare is free. So that's why a lot of people don't have health insurance, because if you want to go to a specialty, like high-end clinic or hospital, you're going to pay a little bit more. Still not what you would pay in the US, but it's worth it to pay it for the service, the quality of service and healthcare you get. Whereas if you don't have the money, you can go to the government hospital for free.
Okay. Okay. So you have the two types. You have the government and then you have your private facilities, but your private facilities are still way less expensive when compared to the US.
Yes.
Okay, so for people just joining, I'm going to put your YouTube channel again. It's at Princess Living Free, and you're in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia with your family, and they can see videos on your channel.
Yes.
So, do you feel safe walking around at night? What's it like?
So yes, I do. In Addis Ababa, and in our neighborhood, I feel safe, and in like the city of Addis Ababa, I feel safe. It's well lit. You'll even see in one of my videos I've shown, like, people are out with children at night,
Okay.
babies in strollers. Like I definitely feel safe in the city. Of course, every city has areas that you probably wouldn't want to be in at night by yourself, but still, it's not like a fear of like you're gonna like horrible, atrocious crimes taking place like in the US. It's like you might get pickpocketed or something like that. But or if you leave your car, it might get stolen. So, but generally, I feel safe. Of course, Ethiopia has gone through turmoil, conflict, wars in recent years in the northern part of the country. So those areas I wouldn't recommend traveling to, even still now at this time. But in the city of Addis Ababa, it's completely safe.
Sorry, I'm getting over the flu. We have a
Oh,
comment here. Thank you for the information, Princess. You are such a wonderful, resourceful person. Watch most of your videos. I'm very grateful to find you.
oh, thank you. That's such a kind comment. Thank you. Me too.
Yay. So, what is the religion like there? Is it mostly Islamic?
I would say Ethiopia's, well, it used to be mostly Christian. So now maybe it's more 50-50, Muslim and Christian. And so even within the Christian community, there are Protestant Christians and Orthodox Christians. And so I think that's kind of like the feel of the religion in the country. Um, the Orthodox faith, even though I'm not Orthodox, it is. I think it is so amazing to see because it almost takes you back, and I've said this before in a previous video, like it almost takes you back to like biblical times. Um, just the way that the women are so conservative and the big places of worship that almost look like temples. The way that everybody comes dressed in their white and they're in the streets or surrounding the church and just being reverent, in that place of worship, covering their hair. It really is amazing to see that. And then to hear, the prayer almost the way Muslims do, kind of to hear the prayer out loud. That's another thing about the religious scene here in Ethiopia. You will hear, especially if you live close to a church or a mosque, you will hear prayers throughout the day, throughout the year. Um, and so it's something, if you're very close to the church, it can disturb you while you're trying to sleep if you're not used to it. So that's something to keep in mind. The same thing with the mosque, but I think eventually you kind of adjust to hearing it and you're able to sleep fine. And so that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, it's an interesting, diverse place with a rich history, obviously a rich religious history, since we're on the topic. Many people believe that the true Ark of the Covenant, recorded in, I think, Exodus of the Judeo-Christian Bible, is still here in Ethiopia. And so actually it's coming up in, I think, a week, a holiday called Timkat. And during that time, the Orthodox Christians bring out a replica of the Ark of the Covenant, and they kind of parade it through the streets of the city. And they do one, here in Addis Ababa and obviously in other parts of the country as well. It's not just in one place. And so they will bring that out, and the Orthodox Christians will, celebrate in a big way. And that's really cool to see. So yeah, a lot of things to say about religion in Ethiopia and even spirituality. I think Ethiopia is a very special place, and I don't know if people who live here realize how special their country is, but I think visitors, when they come in, I've had so many people tell me like there's a strong energy here that is positive. I think sometimes people can't even like put it into words what they're feeling, but they fall in love with the country almost immediately. Almost 99% of people, I would say. If it is even 1% who don't, like, I don't even know, but most people who come to Ethiopia fall in love with it. They return, they enjoy the food, the culture, the people, all that, and now I'm even seeing a lot more foreigners here than I used to when I first came to Ethiopia in 2011, which is interesting to me too about why that might be happening. But yeah, that's religion in Ethiopia in a nutshell.
So my mom is here too. She says hi.
Hi. Hi, Mama.
Hi, mom. So how does religion affect the culture there? Do you find people are friendlier? Do you find people say hi when they're some cities you go to, people just pass by and they don't say anything. And some cities you go to, it's very normal for people to say hi. Usually smaller cities, they say hi, but different cultures, you go to Mexico, they have a different culture where they're just saying hi and greeting people. How does that play into the culture there? Are people just more friendly?
hmm Um, so I would say with Ethiopia, people are very friendly, and greetings are part of the culture for sure. They greet strangers, whenever you come across somebody or enter into, a place of business like a restaurant or hotel or something like that, or if you're taking a ride, which is like Uber or Lyft, you'll always greet the person. People use terms of endearment like brother, sister, mother, father, for even strangers and close friends. So it's a very warm culture. Um, it it does have, so I would say Ethiopia on a scale of like cold to super like friendly and warm. Ethiopia is probably over 50%, maybe in the middle, 60%, something like that, compared to other countries that I've heard about and that I visited. Some countries, people are like, oh my gosh, the people, they're amazing. They're so warm. They're so friendly. They're this. Ethiopians, I think, because their culture is so conservative, they can be reserved at times, especially with foreigners, because English is not one of the national languages here in the country. Most people speak Amharic or another ethnic language. And so if they can discern that you're a foreigner, they may not greet you. It doesn't mean that they don't like you. Sometimes it just can be a little intimidating. Maybe they feel a little insecure about their English, and they don't want to look silly, trying to speak to a foreigner. Yeah, but I think in general Ethiopians are very welcoming. My friend, she's also Black American that lives here. She always says like Ethiopians will accept anybody. Like it's and I think it's true. Everybody's here. You see people from the Arab world, from China, from India, from the US, from the UK, everywhere. And I don't think it's a problem, not for Ethiopians, even if they may come off as shy or conservative or reserved. Like they're very welcoming for guests. They do take pride in welcoming guests, especially like if you get invited to the home of an Ethiopian, like you will be treated like a king or a queen. They will keep feeding you even past the point of being full. They'll say, "Eat, just please eat a little bit. Are you sure you're full? Have a little bit more." And it's just their sign of respect for a guest. And they'll bring you coffee and sodas and like whatever you want, fruit. Because you're a guest. And so I think that is a really great part of Ethiopian culture.
Okay, we have a comment here from Dee. She says she popped in a little bit late. How long have you been in Ethiopia, and how long did it take the people to welcome you and your family?
Okay, so this current time that we moved to Ethiopia, we've been here a little over a year. So since August of 2023, actually. Um, and so, but I've been in and out of Ethiopia since 2011, starting from when I was a US Peace Corps volunteer. And so my husband is Ethiopian, and my children are as well, I guess, and I am by law and by marriage. So we didn't have a problem with people welcoming us or accepting us. One thing, like our kids at school, so they're learning to speak the language, they're getting better at it, but in the home, when they were born and growing up, we speak English. And so when they got to the school, they kind of are a little bit of they're popular. I was going to say celebrity, but not really to that extent. Just popular. The kids are like, still treat them as if they're foreigners, And I guess to some extent they are, even though their father's Ethiopian, and, they live here, they're still seen as foreigners, which is kind of exciting and cool for the local children. Everybody wants to practice their English with them. And then, for me, my husband, I'm not even going to really comment on him because this is his country, born and raised. With me, I think, learning the language helped me a lot to adjust. Because like I was saying, that the culture is reserved and conservative, and women are even more so. So sometimes it's hard to connect and make friends here as a woman, as a foreigner, for the very reasons I mentioned, just maybe people feeling insecure about their ability to speak English, or just thinking that maybe the cultures are too different to really like click. But once even if you just show that you can speak a little bit, like their face will light up, and it will kind of help to foster friendships and being welcomed. I think language is key. It goes a long way.
It does. I agree. So Dee says Rwanda was very different. here. Rwanda was very different. They're not as welcoming to foreigners. So it's nice to hear that it's different in Ethiopia. And
Wow.
then my mom wanted to know what was the deciding factor for, she popped in late, so she wanted to know what was the deciding factor for choosing Ethiopia.
No problem. So like I said, my husband's Ethiopian, and it was kind of the natural path for us. We did also consider Tanzania and Ghana, and maybe one other place, just because of other people's YouTube videos that I had been watching. One of them is T3 and me. They're in Tanzania, and have actually become close friends of ours. So if they're watching, hey guys. And then the others, Journey with Us, a couple people in Ghana, Natural Ghana Grow is one, and I have a friend in Senegal. So, I think it wasn't like serious consideration going to those places, if I'm honest, just because it's easier to go to what is familiar. And it was familiar for both me and my husband since I had been in the country before. But now that I've been here for a while, I'm not saying that we're going to leave, but definitely visiting other places is on the agenda for sure.
Okay, so Dee wanted to know, did you try to learn any languages here or there in Ethiopia?
Yeah, so I am learning Amharic, which is the national language here, the primary language, spoken language, spoken and written, I guess. And I would say I am at least conversational. Um, I'm not novice. I'm not expert, but maybe advanced, I would say. So that's going well. And I don't want to start ranking languages because I don't know, but another popular language here is Afana-Romo. And that's where I was. I was in Oromia during my Peace Corps service. So I don't want to say I can speak Afana-Romo, but greetings, I can do greetings, and I can hear a little bit.
Okay. All right. My mom said that she's the same way. You were talking about the Ethiopians offering food. She offers food way past the point where people are full, and her serving size are ridiculous. Like her serving size is like so large. You're like, what? How can I ever finish all of this?
Right. Is she from the South? I know
My
you mentioned
mom's from Jamaica.
from where?
Jamaica.
Okay, so I mean that's South, but not the U.S. South. It's interesting, about Jamaica. It's really interesting that Jamaica has a lot of similar traditions and cultures to those here in Africa, from what I understand. And to me, it's really not that surprising, given our history, as Black people. So.
Yeah, I heard that a lot of the uh, people in Jamaica come from Nigeria, and it's a
Mhm.
certain tribe in Nigeria, the Igbo tribe of
Okay.
Nigeria. So sometimes
Wow.
I listen to Burna Boy, I understand like the little, because it's English, but then inside of it, there's still little words that are different from English, and I understand it, and I'm like, how do I understand that? But
Yeah. And I've heard the same thing about Ghana too, that Jamaica and Ghana have a lot of similarities as well.
I'll look into Ghana.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dee said my mom didn't say all of it. Her serving size is huge. It's like the whole plate is this high.
Lying on your mama? No, I'm joking.
So, how has your quality of life changed since moving to Ethiopia compared to the US?
It has improved 100%. I mean, I have a better quality of life here. I eat better because the food is more organic and natural. There isn't as much stress here. So, I think even with financial challenges, not that I have them necessarily at this point sometimes, but like even when people are facing financial challenges, just generally here, you will still see that they kind of have an upbeat spirit about them, you know, where they're not bogged down by their situation. A lot of people are people of faith. We talked about that earlier. But yeah, I think that I'm able to spend more time with my family. I am just kind of I'm generally just more free. Kind of that's why my channel is called Princess Living Free, because I feel like I found freedom here on the motherland that is very hard to find in Western countries, because there you do feel like you're in a cage or on a hamster wheel, you know, running in the rat race, trying to keep up with everything. Um, and so here it doesn't feel like that, you know?
Yes, Dee says these are some of the same points that can be made for people moving from the US to most places outside the US.
Yeah. You know, and life in the US is not normal. It's not supposed to be like that. It definitely is a system that we have kind of been just trapped into, you know, institutionalized to think that it's normal to live like that. It's not, you know.
Yeah.
Here, people will take, like in South America, Latin America, they do like siestas, right? And they'll have like a nap time or just a relaxation time during the day. Similar thing here happens. People will go and like literally sit and drink coffee with friends, you know, and talk during the day. So, yeah.
Do they have a culture of having like nannies or having people come help to clean the house? Or like I guess a service culture, is that there too?
Yes, they do. They definitely do have a service culture. Um, you know, and I think that is also a natural thing. You know, I know that you have children, I have children, and motherhood is ghetto sometimes. Like it it's ghetto out here in motherhood, and it's the real hood. And it's like when you don't have help, when you don't have somebody who is like helping, especially in the US, where if you're a two-parent household, both people have to work, they're gone all day, kids are at school or at daycare or something. And then a lot of the household responsibilities falls on the wife and on the woman. She comes home, she's cooking and, you know, trying to arrange things, and then spends the weekend cleaning, washing clothes, like trying to catch up on things that couldn't get done during the week. Like it is not, it's so many women have anxiety and
Mhm.
depression, and I truly believe it comes from that lifestyle, from having to constantly go 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 go. Your mind is go 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 go. You sleep and you can't shut it off. Like you can't even really sleep because you're just constantly thinking, all right, tomorrow we gotta do this, we got this, I gotta do this, okay, they got this thing going on, I got this. It's just like, oh my gosh. So yes, Ethiopia does have a culture where I would say it's women helping women. So there will be sometimes it's older women, but younger women who will come into the house and they will help with the cooking and the cleaning and minding the children. And you know, in our case, we actually have a family member that is helping us, and we pay her. Um, and I also do. I didn't stop being a mom. I didn't, you know, stop being a wife, but she's helping me carry the load.
Yeah.
And so it is a culture here where a lot of women, a lot of households do have that in place.
Yeah, I find that in other cultures outside the US, like running a household is more than just one person. It's more than just the wife mother. You have your person that helps with the childcare, you have the person that helps with the cleaning, somebody helps you with the cooking. Just it's and the woman may not even be working and still
Oh
receive.
yeah. Oh, girl, no, childcare, even if you are a stay-at-home mom, as I was at one point in the US, that is work. And
Yeah,
in a lot of ways, that's more work than work than an
right.
actual job, because you are on 24/7. I remember like getting up in the morning early to get myself, you know, together, have a little me time, then go downstairs, you know, whip up some breakfast, go back upstairs, get the kids up, get them dressed for the day, for school and all that stuff. Like, because my husband already left for work for the day.
Mhm.
So this is me. This is my job. You know, so
Yeah.
I'm like doing all of that, getting them ready, dropping them off at school, the two older ones, and coming back with the youngest because it wasn't school age, and having him all day, having to entertain him, going to the park. and, making his lunch, and I forgot preparing the other kids' lunch, to pack their lunch bag. And so it's just like all day together with this young child, and I don't get a break because like, even so when he was really young, he wasn't like the greatest napper. It'll be like a super quick nap. So I can like scarf down a meal or something, and he's like back at it. And here we are again, it's me and him. I'm washing clothes, I'm mopping floors, I'm doing dishes, like whatever is happening, and then my husband gets home. Actually, I had to pick up the kids, and then he got home, and then I'm
Yeah.
like, I need a break. Like I sensory overload. I'm overstimulated with these kids. Like I'm about to blow up at somebody. So like, please, you take over, and I get a few minutes to myself before I have to come down, do dinner, help kids with homework. My husband would also do that. But it's just like, oh, wow. It is so, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, even if you don't have a formal career or job, being a stay-at-home mom is work, and you do need help. Like, you don't have a staff, you don't have coworkers, you don't have nobody to talk to except kids sometimes. So it's a lot.
Yeah, US life is challenging in that regard because even when the husband comes home, they don't necessarily want to help because they're tired from working all day. And they're like, I've been at work. You're like, I've been at work too. I've been at work too. Okay.
I've been at work too. Exactly. And it so that's kind of how this system works in the US, right? So both parents end up overstimulated, overworked, overtired, and then it takes a toll on the marriage, right? And nobody's like fully happy. You're just kind of like grumpy, irritated, just trying to get through, and trying to make it look like, yeah, life is good in the US, right? Like everything's great. We have a good salary. By the way, when I was working, both my husband and I had excellent salaries. Where that money went, I don't know, because it wasn't in our savings. Like,
Right.
it's just like, if you are trying, it's depending on what city you live in, if you're trying to even live just like standard life in the US, whether it's a rent or a mortgage, you need a car, at least in Vegas where I'm from, you do. Childcare, if you're both working, like just the bare minimum, it just is like depletes your income so quickly, which is also part of the reason why we decided to move back here, because we do have land and we are building a home. And even with large salaries in the US, it just wasn't moving. It like the progress was very slow, because we just didn't have extra money, that much extra money to send towards the house. And so we decided we need to cut our expenses or we're never going to finish this house.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Mitu says she agrees and it's not normal. She loves America for the opportunity. And I think that is one of the best parts of living here,
Yeah.
migrating here, moving here is for economic opportunity. And then once you've gotten to your number, whatever your number is,
Yeah.
once you've gotten there, it's like, okay, now I'm going to move because the lifestyle is very toxic.
Yes. And so on that, I will say, regardless of what your number is, you need a plan and a strategy, because after a while you get comfortable in that system, not even realizing that it's like, wait a minute, I'm still on the hamster wheel. I'm stuck. I'm stuck here. I can't even leave if I wanted to because I didn't focus. Like, yes, I'm making this amount of money, but where is my savings? Like, what am I going to be able to do with this? Like, that I agree with you. America is great for the economic opportunities at this point. Things could change in the very near future, and they are changing. But have a strategy. I want to do this by this year. And by year 5, we're going to do this. By year 10, it's not just a dollar amount or a salary amount. It's like, I need to accomplish these things and not get so tangled and attached in this system.
Yeah. Dee says it's all about getting your money working better for you. Yep. Those
Yes,
dreams.
absolutely. I agree.
So my mom wanted to know, how old are your children?
Okay, so we have 3 boys. The oldest is 9, the middle is 6, and the youngest is 3
Aw.
years apart. Yeah. Sounds like family planning, but it was just by chance that it happened like that.
So did you move to Ethiopia with a job, or how did that work?
So no, we did not move here. Well, we didn't move here with a local job. We do have income still from the States. So that's what I was saying. If you can still have income in dollars, it's cheap, affordable. I wouldn't say cheap, but it's affordable. And we're working on some entrepreneurial business things so that we can kind of step away from the employee role and become entrepreneurs, business owners, that type of thing. So there's a few things in the works that we've got going on. We have a couple business proposals written and things that are already in motion. So that's what I was saying. Like, come here with a plan. If you're, or not, even if you're not planning to come to Ethiopia or Africa, but if you're planning to leave the U.S., do it with a plan. It's, some people can just completely go by faith without anything. I saw somebody's video that they had $400 and they moved to Tanzania and they're doing okay. So I've seen that happen, but I think if you don't have that level of faith, like, come with a plan, come with a little bit of income, come with savings or something like that before you can, get your other things going. But yeah, that's how we're surviving.
So Dee says that America also creates a constant sense of competition. I feel like the keeping up with the Joneses type thing. So the hamster wheel never stops. So I guess like the number keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, I agree. It's important
I do agree with that. That is a big thing in America. Not only amongst adults, but amongst children. There's competition in the schools about what kind of clothes, what kind of shoes, especially if it's like a public school that doesn't have a uniform. Kids compare. However, I will say, I don't think that goes away here in Ethiopia and in other places on the continent. It's probably to a lesser degree. But people are still looking at each other. I think that's human nature, to say, oh, they got this kind of car. Oh, I wonder how much they paid for that. It's better than my car. Or, oh, oh, wow, look at her dress, look at her nails, look at her whatever. Like, people are looking at each other and making those comparisons. So it does kind of become competitive. So I think that's just something to be aware of, but I think it is cultural in the US for sure.
So Dee said, would you mind sharing a range of monthly your cost of living? She knows it's relative, but on average.
Okay, so what was I saying earlier? I think
300 to 500 for a house a month. $300 to $500 for a house a month. And then like another $50 for utilities, all utilities like internet, water, and there was one more. Electric. Oh, I think she froze. But yeah, it was $500 for all of her housing. And then groceries and eating out and entertainment was like another $500. So together,
it cut out for we froze.
Yeah, we froze. I was telling them what you said earlier. Together it was like $1,000 or $1,100 for a family of 5 per month.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what we landed on. So it would be cheaper if you obviously have a smaller number of people in your family.
Mitu says she's working on her plan. She's going to join you soon.
Yeah, come on. We're here. We love to have you.
Okay, so you say you have 3 kids and you said they're in international schools. So how does the international schooling work? Is the schooling in English? Do they learn language as part of their coursework? How does it work for fees? Yeah.
So in Ethiopia, at the international school, the curriculum is in English. The one that they're at, it's actually a British curriculum. And they do offer other language classes. So my children also take French and Amharic as well, which is the local language. Actually, French doesn't start until first grade, I think, or maybe it's even later than that, like the upper grades, like the pre-KG, KG prep classes, they don't get French, but they do have Amharic. and all the curriculums in English. And yeah, that I think that answers your question.
So how was it when they came over to the international school from the US? Were they on pace with what the school was doing for that age? Were they okay with making that transition?
They were. So here in Ethiopia, it's a little bit different. That like I was just kind of explaining. So there is a pre-KG, KG, and then prep, and then first grade. Whereas in the US, usually it's just kindergarten, then first grade. You know, there might be pre-KG, but that most schools, or not every school offers it, even, you know, where I'm from in Las Vegas, but it's usually kindergarten, then straight to first grade. So then you're 5 in kindergarten, 6 in first grade. Whereas here, you're like 3 or 4 in pre-KG, 5 or 6 in KG, 6 or 7 in prep, and then 7 or 8 in first grade. So it's almost like 1 year behind where the US grade scale is. So
Okay.
when we moved here, that was actually a little bit confusing for us, because what we were trying to figure out is our middle son, he was starting, he should have been starting kindergarten. He has a late birthday, but he was turning 5, or maybe he was 4 going to 5, something like that. So he ended up going to pre-KG, you know, which put him at a year or 2 behind his brother, when they would have just only been 3 years apart in school. And the older one, he was going into 3rd grade when we got here. And so because of the way the systems are a little bit staggered, I was hesitant, I was confused, and my husband and I were trying to figure out what we should do. Like, do we put him in 3rd grade here, like he would have been in the US, but here, 3rd grade is technically 4th grade in the US. So he kind of would have been skipping a year if we had put him in the 3rd grade. But then it's like, do we put him in 2nd grade here, which is technically 3rd grade in the US? But then in his mind, he's like going back to 2nd grade, you know, and then not knowing if the curriculum would match, like which grade would match, you know. I know it's a little bit confusing. It was confusing for us too, so I wasn't sure. But what we ended up doing, because one of the school administrators had advised us to just put him in 3rd grade, as he would have been in the US, because he was like saying, you'll probably find that he will already be at the same level of the children, or maybe a little bit ahead, given, you know, him being in school in the US already. Because here they're learning English, whereas our children are fluent in English.
Oh, okay.
You see, so but I think at the end of the day, it worked out. It worked out how it's supposed to. He didn't struggle. You know, he was able to catch on quickly. Some of the concepts were repeated, like from the 2nd grade in the US, but he was in 3rd grade, right, in Ethiopia. And some of the concepts were new. So I think it was a good balance for him. He got some familiar, and he got something to challenge him. So that's definitely something to keep in mind if you're moving from the US to Ethiopia.
Yeah, okay. So Dee said, "Oh Lord," on the cost of living, because the cost of living is so low when compared to the U.S. Yeah, having everything for $1,000 for a family of 5 is just crazy.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
So, did your kids speak any of the language before they got there? Like, did their dad teach them?
No, I get on him all the time about that. No, they didn't speak anything, really. But now it's amazing. You just watching them blossom into the language and into the culture. Um, you know, they're like different children. Even they're taking on the respect aspects of Ethiopian culture. They will, even my youngest, they'll just pop out saying Amharic words I didn't even know that they knew, you know, or Amharic phrases that I didn't know that they knew. So my youngest, I was standing at the window watching him do something he wasn't supposed to do. And I was telling him, no, stop that. And he was like, Chikriyelam, which is like, no problem, it's fine. Like, I'm like, where did that come from? Like, they'll just pop out with some Amharic phrase, and I'm like, wow. Or if the power goes out sometimes, and they'll be like, Mabrat Tafa, the light went out. And I'm like, yeah, it did go out. Yeah, so that's cool to see. It's cool for my husband to see too, here to see his children speaking his native language.
So when you have power outages, how long is it? Is it long or is it scheduled? How does it work?
It's not scheduled like in South Africa. I know they have like scheduled outages. Ethiopia, I could, Lord, let me not say that, but like I could be sitting here right now and then it's like it's dark. It'll go off without warning. And it depends on what part of the country you're living in or what part of the city. Addis, I think, is better than other parts of the country for sure. And then within Addis, there are areas that are, I guess, maybe more stable than others. It just depends on the transformer you have. So they're still on the above ground wiring and all that stuff. But I have heard that they're trying to move to the fiber optics or the underground power system,
Mhm.
which I think would help with the lighting issue. But it doesn't. When we first got here, if it went out, which was rare when we first got here, it would be out maybe 15-20 minutes and come back. Now, I think more people have moved into the neighborhood that we are living in, and so there's more homes on the transformer, and so sometimes it'll go out and be out all day.
Oh,
But they come and fix it, and they move some of the lines to a different transformer, and so I think they tried to fix it, and it's a little bit better. But yeah, that can be annoying.
yeah. So, how has it been challenging keeping or maintaining relationships with your friends in the U.S. and family? Do they come visit, or do you guys do video calls?
um, so I think the family that I was close with, I don't think the distance changed really that much. Like we can still keep in contact with video calls and stuff like that. Um, And I find with friends, I don't know if this is true for you, but I don't have like a whole lot of like adult friends in the US. So in high school and college, like I had a bunch of friends and then got married, had kids, and like kind of people fell off. I fell off. People are busy doing their own thing, living their own life. So a lot of my friends now are people I've met on this journey, people that live here, people who are in other parts of Africa. Like I told you, T3 and me are good friends of ours in Tanzania. I have a friend in Senegal. Just kind of my friend group has changed, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's common. I hear that too. Even like Dee could speak when you move, you get surrounded by people who think like you. So they move, they value different things. They value maybe relaxing or having a different, a better quality of life. And they put less emphasis on things that you value in America. They move at a slower pace. They have more leisure time, like abundance of leisure time. So you
Yeah,
gravitate towards people who have the same values and time. So Dee asked,
absolutely.
Dee asked you mentioned you have friends in other African countries. How do you physically meet up with them?
Yeah, I did. So I physically met up with my friend in Senegal, um, in the US actually, because she's from California. I'm from Las Vegas. So when we happened to both be in the US at the same time and we met there.
Okay.
I do have a plan to visit her in Senegal. She has been to Ethiopia before. And I did physically meet the family I was telling you about, T3 in Tanzania. They actually came to Ethiopia.
So
The husband did for an event because he's also an ambassador through the African Union, similar to me. So yeah, I do meet them in person, and I do also have friends in the country as well. So yeah.
So how did you meet your friends in Ethiopia? Because you were mentioning that it can be hard because of the language barrier and also because their conservative culture. So is there meetup or is it like through your husband and his family? How did you meet them?
So most of my friends in country are not Ethiopian women for that
Oh,
reason. I do have a woman I'm friends with. She's an Ethiopian, but I actually knew her from Peace Corps days, and we just kind of kept in contact. Um, New Ethiopian friends, not really, just my sisters-in-law. Those are like, my Ethiopian friends and also family. But most of my friends are also expats. So Black Americans who either we found each other through YouTube. One woman in her family actually lived behind us, like behind the wall. And so she knew me through YouTube, and she didn't choose the house for me, but like I ended up finding a house like directly behind her. So we grew close that way. And then, yeah, the other people are just YouTube people, social media people. Oh, I do have another Ethiopian friend who I also met on YouTube, Feti. I think it's Feti Vlogs. It's her channel. And so, yeah, so she's my friend, but she's not in the country right now. That's why I forgot about her because she's been gone for a while. But yeah, so I mostly meet people through social media, honestly.
yeah, YouTube can be great for that, meeting people.
Yeah.
Has the language barrier been difficult in everyday life, like grocery shopping or just getting around?
Um, for me, no. Like I said, I feel like I'm at the point with language where I can be conversational and I can get around easily. I can go to the grocery store. I can order food. That isn't an issue for me. If you don't know Amharic, it will be an issue for you. And that's just like there's no way around that because a lot of people here don't speak English. It's not a national language. They may try, and I'm not saying nobody speaks English. Like, of course, that's ridiculous. There are people here who speak English, but most people don't. And there was somebody who actually came recently on a kind of an exploration trip to see, if they could see themselves living here and what's the process for buying land and opening a bank account, stuff like that. And he actually had to call me because he was having trouble with the ride system, the Uber, Lyft, Ethiopia's version of Uber and Lyft, because the driver couldn't understand him. He couldn't understand the driver.
Mm.
The driver went to pick him up at a different location than he was at, and then trying to arrange for the driver to come meet him where he actually is. And so he actually had to call me. Like the language is it can be an issue. So yeah. But
Okay.
I wouldn't I wouldn't say, that should scare you from considering Ethiopia. Because I think people are friendly enough that they will try to help you and try to understand. So, you know, it's okay. You can do it. But the language thing is, yeah, it's
So
a culture shock.
you mentioned French as part of your kids' education. Is French one of the national languages, or do a lot of people speak French there?
No,
Oh,
no, not at all. So I was even surprised, like, oh, okay, why would French be in the curriculum? But um, I I think it's because it is international, and so maybe like I know West Africa has French, and other parts of Africa as well. Maybe that's why, and maybe it's a major international language, English, French. So that's probably why I think so.
yeah, in that part of the world, I think there's a lot of French colonies. So
Yeah, exactly. Right. So maybe they decided, yeah, that's an international language, They're gonna.
oh, oh, you're back. Okay, you
Oh,
froze a little bit. All
okay,
right,
sorry.
you wake up. It's Tuesday morning. What does your day look like?
A random Tuesday morning. Well, if the kids are in school, I get up and I will, most days, pray, spend a little time in prayer. Sorry, my battery. Um, then I will go and meet, and the young woman that lives with us will prepare breakfast and lunch for the kids, pack their lunch boxes. Then I'll go get them up and dressed for the day. And then they will go downstairs and eat. And then I will change my clothes and get ready for the day, drop the kids off at school. And then while they're there, if I have content to film for YouTube, I will just go out and do that since I have somebody at home with the youngest now, so I don't have to worry about that. Or, if I am going to be home all day, kind of just lay low. But, I'm not really a homebody. I like to be outside of the house. So I might meet somebody for the day, hang out with a friend, get coffee, get lunch, something like that before the kids get out of school. And then I will pick them up, bring them home. And, my husband's around too. So just sometimes I'll just be like hanging out with him or he'll get the kids. And then that's kind of like the majority part of the day, other than that, it's winding down, either helping with dinner or if I'm not the one cooking dinner, which most times I'm not, honestly. I'll be like doing homework with the kids, or my husband will be doing that, going over homework with the kids. And yeah, it's kind of like a simple life,
That sounds like a dream. All your meals are prepared. You take the kids to school, and then you're like, I'm going to take a walk.
Right. Maybe do exercise or something. Yeah, exactly. It's so funny how just like a simple life, which like to me, it's like, it's kind of boring, but like for Americans who live like a busy life, it's like, wow, just living the dream. Yeah.
Yeah. Just even not making dinner. It's like, oh.
Right. There was like a clip online that was going around of Aretha Franklin, like when she was talking about like one of her biggest like stresses in life or something like that. And she was like, what to cook for dinner every night. And I'm like, I can identify with that. Seriously. And I don't think like when I was doing everything by myself, like cooking and all that stuff, I wasn't doing it every night, but like planning the meals for the week so I can go to the grocery store and get all the stuff I'm going to need. Ooh, child. I'm glad those days are over.
The planning, the grocery shopping, the preparing, so the chopping vegetables if you eat vegetables, the cooking, and then the cleaning up after the cooking is like, oh, it's a part-time job. It's a part-time
It is. Yep, I agree 100%. For sure.
Okay, so how is living in Ethiopia different from living in the US?
Yeah, so just basically that, just a slower pace of life, really. The other, like I said, culture shock, the biggest one is language. Yeah, I think it's just a slower pace of life. I think also there's more interaction with people. Maybe the southern states in the US are more people oriented, but here, like, you're not gonna go a day without like running into people and talking to people in the neighborhood at the local like little shop, like a souk is what it's called, but it's a very small shop that is family run, and you most likely go there every day, maybe twice a day, and so like it's Mr. Rogers' neighborhood basically, like you know. So yeah, that's a big difference for me.
You said you go to the shop like twice a day, so you buy groceries every day, or you buy food right before you prepare it, like ingredients?
Yeah, I do. So it's not it's not like a grocery shopping. Like if I need milk, there's like sachets of milk, like a packet, whatever it's called, like of milk that you can buy from this little souk. If you need milk, you can just go and buy it for 20 cents or 50 cents. Sorry, it's 50 cents now. You can go and get like some milk, or if you need eggs, or if you need vegetables, like they usually have onions and garlic and peppers, carrots, fresh fruit, like just at these little souk stands. So like if I it's not like in the US, so maybe that's kind of where the confusion is. Sometimes I'll do a grocery shop, like a grocery store run, and I'm like with a grocery list. I need oatmeal, I need rice, pasta, cereal, yogurt, whatever. I'll do that every once in a while. I would say that probably happens every 2 to 3 weeks. But like daily, just the regular stuff is literally I can walk outside my front door and go to a shop, one of these souks, and like, oh, I need onions for dinner. But I don't. I'll buy like a bulk, like 3 kilos of onions and tomatoes and all this stuff at once. But if I need something, I can run out and get it. And it's not always a food item. They have pretty much everything. If I need batteries for the remote, I can go to the souk, like, you know. So
It's like a corner store, but is it like a stand? Is it like they wheel it somewhere at the end of the day?
no, it's not on wheels. It's a
Oh, okay.
structure, but it's like sometimes it has like cement walls. Sometimes it has like metal sheets as the wall. It's very small. There's probably like, not more than 3 people can fit in them usually, like at once. So unless it's a bigger one, but yeah.
So what's a must-try dish in Ethiopia?
Oh, must try. My favorite is kikil, and that is kind of like a soup. So it has a broth. Sometimes people put onion or carrots in it. And then there's like meat, bones in it. So you'll cook it for hours. It's kind of like slow cooking till the meat becomes really soft and tender. It's usually either sheep or goat. So it has a really it's very flavorful. It's kind of a comfort food for me for some reason. I don't know why. Um, that to me is a must try. Obviously, you have to try shiro, which is a staple in Ethiopia. It's a basic food. It's made out of chickpeas, usually. There's other kinds too, but it's like a chickpea powder, and then you cook it in water until it becomes like creamy. So it has spice in it. The Ethiopian spiced butter sometimes it doesn't have it. You can put peppers on top of it, like jalapeno peppers. And it's really good. I think a lot of people usually like that. Beyanet, which is a good one. If you don't eat meat, it gives you a taste of all the vegetables. It has like beets on it, lentils, shiro, sometimes cabbage and carrots and potatoes. And, everything is prepared with an Ethiopian flair. So it's not just like, normal food, but I mean, it is normal food, but it's not like, bland or anything. Like it's very flavorful. It's very good. So yeah, I love Ethiopian food, honestly.
And the culture there is you eat with your hands, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
All the
So
time, or is it certain dishes?
all the time. So the kekil I was telling you about, that's like a soup. So you would eat that one with a spoon, but you can pick up the meat with your hands. But like pretty much every other Ethiopian food, you'll eat with your hands. So you use all 5 fingers. You're not just like picking it like this or like some like you have to use all 5, and you take the injera, which is like the flat bread that they eat with. It's kind of soft, spongy, and then you kind of make a small blanket over the portion of food you want to eat. Then you pick it up like this, eat it like that.
So did that take some getting used to?
Eating with my hands didn't take getting used to. What took getting used to is that culturally, especially if people want to show you respect or love, they may take the food like this in their hand and put it in your mouth. And that that takes getting used to, because for us it's like, are your hands clean? And it's also like in our culture maybe a little bit like sensual to feed somebody, but here it's not like that. It's a normal thing. And people's hands are clean because they wash every time. They are religious about washing their hands before and after they eat. So it's not a big deal, but it is like a little bit shocking for a foreigner, the first time.
Yeah. So my mom said that's like eating roti. Roti is it's Trinidad. Do you know what it is? It's Trinidadian, and it's like a flat bread like you're describing, like a pita, and there's like curry spices in it, and you wrap it up in meat and you eat it.
Okay. Yeah, it's similar to, I think Indian cultures also have something similar.
Yeah, well, that's where they got it from.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
So injera's less bread-like and more like almost either between a crepe and a pancake, like a thin pancake. But
yeah,
yeah, it's a similar style of wrapping the food with it and eating it.
yeah.
Mhm.
My mom says there's chickpeas in it too. Chickpeas and curry.
Nice. You see, more similarities. Uh-huh.
Yes. Okay, so let's see. Are you thinking of moving anywhere else, or is Ethiopia it for you?
Ethiopia is our home base, but we definitely plan to travel a lot around the continent and even, maybe outside. But Ethiopia is our home base for sure.
Yeah. So, did you travel a lot when you lived in the US?
Growing up, yes.
Okay.
I traveled a lot around the US and even outside. We took a lot of family trips. And so I do think that is a privilege, for a lot of American families that other international families don't have. Not that they don't, maybe, yeah, maybe they don't have, we kind of take it for granted that we can just get up and go, at least we used to be able to.
Yeah. So, I had another person tell me that the flights within Africa, like from, say, Ethiopia to Kenya, it's more expensive than it would be to go like to the US. Do you find that too, that it's a little bit limiting because of the cost of the flights?
Yep, that's 100% true. Flying within Africa is more expensive in some cases than it would be to like fly to that same like you said Ethiopia to Tanzania or Kenya or Uganda or something like that. It's in some cases would be cheaper to fly all the way from the U.S. to Kenya. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, if anyone else has any questions, just feel free to put them in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, I'm going to put your YouTube channel on here. It's Princess Living Free, so you can find Princess and see her videos about life in Ethiopia, which is so interesting. Just healthy food, everything you talked about. You were like vegetables. So I was like, okay, so lots of vegetables and meats. It's just like organic, like here that's privilege. You're like, oh, you're eating organic.
It's expensive, right, in the U.S.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Everywhere
Right.
else is just regular food.
Yeah, it's actually the inexpensive version. Like I said, going to the supermarket and buying the junk is the expensive one. Where in
Yeah,
the US, the junk is the cheap one, and the
yeah,
good food, the organic food, is the expensive one.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So, okay, thank you again for coming
Thank you.
on. I'm gonna end it, but we can keep talking after. But I'm gonna end the live stream. So we will
Okay.
see you next time,
All
everybody.
right. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you all. Make sure you subscribe to my channel.
Yes, go on and subscribe.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.